Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. You and your mental health are so much more important than that job. So sorry they treated you this way, OP. Anyway, you did the right thing. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Quit my job because I was told that business was more important than my mental health. I've struggled with mental health my entire life. I attend therapy regularly and I'm medicated. I do the work to stay mentally healthy. But ever since COVID hit the US, it's become difficult to deal with. I work for a huge corporate hairdressing company. I have no control over my schedule, my clients, who I can and can't turn away if necessary, and emergencies are rarely accepted as reasons to leave early. It never used to be this way, but with COVID procedures and significant loss of business, all they care about is making money to stay open, which I do understand. My mental health's at an all-time low. I've never discussed it much with people who aren't directly involved in my care, but our general manager has preached up and down that she's here for us if we're struggling in this time. With the added stress of my own money loss, insane hours, and verbally abusive and entitled clients, I swallowed my pride and decided to tell her how I'm feeling. I met with her privately to ask for an extra day off for the next 2 weeks and explained to her that I was losing my will to live. I was crying and frankly humiliated that it had even come to this point and she had to see me this way. Her response was, "Well, you're forgetting we have a business to run, so no, we need you here." I was stunned. I couldn't believe she'd just told me that. She stood her ground. "You'll be fine. We need you here." I felt incredibly shamed and mortified. I didn't ask for a vacation, just one extra day a week for 2 weeks. I didn't say anything else and just carried on as I have for the rest of the day. Later that day, I got several messages from my coworkers concerned about my well-being, all of them asking if I was okay and begging me not to do anything rash. I've never told them anything about my mental health, so I was very confused. Turns out the GM had told several of my coworkers what I told her in confidence to complain. So the next day, I drove to the salon in my street clothes and spoke to the GM and told her I would not be returning based on how she had treated the situation. She tried to protest, but I just packed my tools and left. I got several phone calls and text messages after the fact. Some were supportive and said it was good that I removed myself after such callous treatment, but others told me I'm being a dramatic AH. Those people also said I caused massive stress for the salon because of the clients I'd scheduled that day had to be squeezed in with other people, and other stylists suffered verbal abuse at the hands of Karens that day. And our second story. For the sake of 3 minutes. I worked in the tourism sector in a museum as a hands-on historian/actor. Our job was to expand on the text and exhibitions, play games with the kids, answer questions, and be general fonts of useless knowledge. 8 of us, and we had medieval characters, wore costumes, and were generally well received. It was hokey and corny, but fun. Hardly a stellar paying job, but we all loved what we did, knew a lot, and worked damn hard to make sure the guests were happy. Until our old boss had to leave due to family issues and we got a new one. A real corporate manager. Before she arrived, our old boss was pretty lax. He didn't have to be breathing over our shoulders as he knew that we did our jobs. We had a clocking in machine, and the rule was logging out 3 minutes early or late didn't affect our pay. Because we enjoyed the work, we always came in early, clock in, not being paid, to set everything up. We had to get dressed, set up the games, make sure the activities were out, general maintenance stuff. This took time. Occasionally, we ended up staying late if something unexpected came up. Again, no problem. When the new boss started, she didn't straight away start making changes, but she was watching us. Our work is obviously dependent on how much human traffic we have. If there's no patrons, there's nothing for us to do. The flip side was that when it was busy, we didn't have time to blink. She called us into a meeting and said that it wasn't suitable that during quiet time we were standing around talking and we should be engaging in some kind of work like cleaning, tidying, or picking up rubbish. Despite that, we had a team that did that. So work for work's sake. to justify our wages as we weren't being paid to chat. It was explained to her by our unofficial team leader that you're not just paying for our labor, but our time as well. She didn't like or understand this idea, but we made ourselves look busy. She also believed that she knew the job better than we did, stopped listening to our suggestions, and started making little rules of what we could and couldn't tell people regarding the history. Nothing too gruesome, for instance. Ever met children? They love the gory details. Age appropriate, of course. There's a reason why horrible histories is so popular. The second issue cued the malicious compliance. Again, another meeting, this time over 3 minutes early clockout. That we were paid until 1700, not 1657. That our hours were 10 to 1700, no mention of us clocking in early, so we did just that. No one clocked out before 1700, but no one clocked out after 1701 either. Nor we did clock in early anymore. More than once, she saw us standing at the clock-in machine at 9:55, asked us to clock in. We said no, that it wasn't time. She tried telling us that we should be in early to prepare regardless of whether we were being paid. We told her no, working without pay is not what we're doing. This meant that those 20 to 25 minutes per person setup were now being done once we were clocked in. No longer was the museum ready when the doors opened. Early morning patrons noticed. Because of her make them work every second regardless, it meant the team was often scarce. We'd be moving rubbish, filling leaflet shelves, getting rid of cleaning instruments, and also, TBF, hiding to get 5 minutes of peace. Morale also fell, so we followed the letter, but not the spirit of the job description. We frankly stopped caring, as if we didn't feel valued. I don't know what it's like now as the entire team left within 9 months. Far as I know, she's still there. Don't know how she's running the ship, but none of us have been back. And our last story. The HOA is out to get my farm. My great-grandfather purchased 3,000 acres in Florida in the 1800s. It's been in the family and a working farm ever since. After my father passed, the land was divided between my brother and sister and me. My brother and sister sold their portions to a development company, and at the same time, I purchased a neighboring 850 acres. On to the story. After the development company built up the area with single-family home, they transferred control to a new HOA, which became officially registered in 2016. It was at this time that unstamped letters began appearing in my mailbox. The first was an introduction of the new HOA and included about a 20-page CCR that were essentially a contract and had so many rules and regulations. Since my family land predates the HOA by well over 120 years, I'm not obliged to join any such group. So I ignore the letters and start making them return to sender. Now, this alerts my postal carrier who put unstamped mail in the mailbox, and he took those letters and went to have a conversation with the HOA about illegal use of the mailbox. Now, while this is a farm, I was not using it fully, but instead I had, at the time, about a dozen rescue animals, as well as 3 quarter horses. I arrived home to find a pair of cars at the entrance of my driveway, blocking my access. My driveway is almost a quarter mile long, so I parked and walked. At my house, I found my wife arguing with 3 people, 2 men and a woman, who were demanding to be allowed their rights to search my property inside and out. After a quick briefing, I inform my trespassers of their violations. I then give them 10 minutes to get off my property and move their cars before I tow and impound them. These self-rigorous individuals were not budging, so I walk to one of my barns and start up something inside and back out with an older model Holmes tow truck and start backing down the driveway. These 3 ran in to get their cars and were gone before I got to the end of the driveway. Now, this would be nice if it ended there, but then it wouldn't be much of a story. I started receiving fines, yes, in the mail, and unstamped. Actually had to get the local postmaster involved, illegal use of the mail system, and mailboxes are part of that, are a federal crime. I even got a fine for calling the postmaster on them. The HOA had to pay a $10,000 fine for unauthorized use of the USPS system. Fast forward about 6 months, and my wife notices that there's a lien on the house and property. This is where I contacted a property rights attorney who immediately filed with the local government and finance agencies our dispute to the legality of this lien. It took a couple of months, but the lien was dismissed when the originator failed to show up to a hearing. But it doesn't end here. Oh no, it does not. I received a large packet that came certified mail detailing all the fines I've incurred since the HOA came into existence, and they demanded immediate payment. Included in this was a $500 fine for not signing the CC&Rs, a $1,000 fine for not allowing board members access to search my property, $10,000 fine for repayment of fine the HOA had to pay for the HOA breaking federal law, and the list goes on and on. My attorney laughed and sent a cease and desist letter as well as a demand that all further correspondence must be directed to her office. That lasted about 6 months until my wife again noticed a new lien on the property. WTF, I thought. So back to my attorney and more laughing. Turns out the HOA put a lien on the land I purchased, which is still separate from the family land, so we repeat the steps above. During this time, while my wife was in the hospital for delivery of our second child and everyone was there to support her, the HOA trespassed again and started searching through my property, including its barns, garage, and outbuildings. They even tried towing several vehicles that I had on the land that were not licensed. Yeah, they're for farm use. Picture a rusty old pickup used to haul hay and feed, an old car with no doors we used to check out the field and search for animals. Now they were caught in the act by the local sheriff's deputy who was just doing a drive-by. No one was arrested, and I chose not to press charges. However, this infuriated the HOA, and another large packet arrived with more fines on top of all the previous fines. Another trip to my attorney and more laughing, and this time she contacts the county clerk's office and manages to stop another lien that was in the process of being posted. This time, in order to post the lien, the HOA would need to show up at a hearing and explain. Yep, they didn't show, and lien vanished. Now, just a reminder, my family and property are not part of any HOA. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.